And as I always say this, I can't wait to be in person with everybody. And hopefully our next meeting, that might be happening. Things are getting better every day. So Steve, I'm going to let you start off since we put the first item on our agenda, which is an update on Bushwick Inlet.
Okay.
Let
Thank
us
you,
know
Phil.
what's going on, please.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to, in case there's people here, I am the co-chair of Friends of Bushwick Inlet Park. We're an all-volunteer group that works to serve and protect and help realize Bushwick Inlet Park. And we're involved with, strong advocacy to get the park finished. And we also provide programming and gardening and education as well. So, and so one of the initiatives that we finished is we partnered up with a tech hub at the Pratt Institute called SAVI, Space Analysis Visualization Initiative, to create a parcel map. Yeah. And
She agrees. She likes it.
yeah, all right. She feels it's going to be a good thing. So, the whole, the details of Bushwick in the Park are complicated. There's 5 parcels. They're in various stages of development. And so I thought I'd just walk you through the status of the various parcels using the map. So let me, whoops. Let's go for. Okay, here we go. So if you just go to bushwickinletpark.org, go into the park tab, you'll see it's a parcel map. And so as you can see, I'm going to start on 86 Kent, which the southernmost parcel and the only currently open and functional part of the park. There'll be another section, hopefully opening up in a few months, but it's adjacent to Marsha P. Johnson State Park, which is under the purview of New York State Parks. And 86 Kent, currently there's a, you'll see on the right, there's a park headquarters building that has a green roof, and there's currently a turf field that's primarily used for soccer, but it's used for other types of sports. And then there we go. And near the waterfront, it's actually this kind of hidden gem. There's this beautiful esplanade with skyline views with the water. And our group has been programming music down there, citizen science activities, and gardening, which I'll get to in a little bit. So the field opened in 2009, and then the rest of the park, including the building, opened up a few years later. And then moving north to what we call the city storage site. It's an L-shaped property. This was the subject of a big community battle that Friends of Bushwick Park was involved with. And in 2016, the city basically relented and purchased the site. It was the only section of the park that hadn't been acquired by the city yet. And so, we very recently, last year, got some great news that there's funding. I think I brought it up at the last full board meeting, that the mayor allocated money towards demolition and development of this site. And so very, very, very excited about that, hopefully in the near future, you won't have to look at that, this big, gigantic warehouse anymore. In terms of the timing, that's to be determined. There is a possibility that there'll be a private source of funding and managing the demolition, which would free up some more money for developing the rest of the park. But that's something we'll be keeping an eye on. And then next door to that, moving a little bit north and to the east, is what we're calling 50 Kent. And this is a section referred to that is currently under construction. It went under construction a little under a year ago, and it's scheduled to open, fingers crossed, in the next few months. And it's 2 acres. It's going to be a passive space mostly. There will be a spray area for children, And recently, the mayor held a press conference announcing the funding of the city storage property. We got a sneak preview of this section, and we did again a few weeks ago with Senator Schumer and Assemblywoman Gallagher and Lincoln Ressler, a new council member. And it looks amazing. It's really wonderful job. I hand it off to the Parks team and the Stantec design team that pulled this together. There's this beautiful, here, there's going to be there's a hill from east to west at the beginning of the park. So I have this beautiful view. It's got contours to it. So it'll be really nice. And what I really look forward to is when the trees mature, in the next 10 to 20 years, they'll have these beautiful kind of groves of trees where you can get shade. And near Kent Avenue, there
Steve,
are
Steve, I'm sorry to interrupt. But if the Stephen Lewis, there's a lot of noise coming from your Stephen Lewis. Can you mute, please? Thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that. I thought I was.
Okay, thanks, Katie. Yeah, so there'll be tables and chairs near where you can have food, or I think you can't remember if there are checkerboards on top of the tables, maybe checkers or chess. So yeah, so there's just some agency hookups and sign-offs that have to occur, but hopefully by summer you'll have a new section of park to enjoy. And then moving on to what we call the Bayside site, which is, I guess, with the city's orange site, they're the two largest sites, but this formerly was a major oil storage facility. Those tanks you see in the upper right were demolished a couple of years ago. So it looks like that. Currently, there's no funding for any work to continue on this parcel, so that we need to advocate for that. So we don't wait another 17 years for that to materialize. But it will be amazing as you on the southern bank of Bushwick Inlet and at the convergence of the East River, so that we can look forward to, hopefully in our generation, to have this another great section of the park. And then I'm sorry, this is a retro photo from the 60s. There used to be, I don't know if you were the sculptor Mark DeSuvero. He had a studio across the street where there's a DEP facility right now. So that was kind of a little hangout going on there in the 60s. But so then finally, we have what's called the Motiva section. And this is it primarily surrounds Bushwick Inlet. It's just this beautifully unique natural setting. And funding was budgeted towards remediating and designing and developing this site. It's still in the agency sign-off realm right now, which is technically in the Parks Capital cycle, the design phase, because of bulkheads and bodies of water to a DEC and Army Corps of Engineers. So hoping to hear that it'll move forward to the next stage of procurement sometime soon. Mary, is there anything you want to add to the overview of these sites? Or
No, just, so National Grid is going to be doing some testing work over at the City Storage North site. So Steve, if you could just show that site. So City Storage is basically two parcels, the parcel with the building on it, and then the parcel that the fire site. So we just are looking at City Storage North as the fire site. So, they'll be doing some testing work there, which is really good news. It's helpful to moving forward with understanding what's going on underground there. And then we are working on another consent order, or towards, I should say, another consent order on the Bayside site. We satisfied the last consent order, which was for pre and post demolition testing for the tanks on the site. And so we have some data about what's going on. And so now we have to work with DEC on some sort of remedial action plan. and then moving forward on that site. So, and then just to add to what you said about 50 Kent, it was April of 2021. So we should be opening very soon at 50 Kent, hopefully by
That's
April.
great.
Yeah. So
That's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, there is extensive remediation that needs to happen with Bayside and to probably a similar extent, city storage, because
Yep.
there was oil refinery and storage, manufactured gas plant operations going there. So find out what the extent that is, but fortunately there are responsible parties, Exxon and National Grid, that I guess ideally they will at least pay for the remediations and hopefully maybe manage it as well, but that is all TBC.
yeah,
So,
I mean, hopefully we have something similar to what happened at 50 Kent,
yeah,
right? Where National Grid did the work and then we come in and are able to design the park after.
right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions about?
Mary, can I ask a question about the turf field? We got news that it's being delayed again, and can you bring us all up to date about that?
Yeah, so we're still waiting on some more information. I know that Councilman Ressler's office has been in touch about the delay, but you know, unfortunately, there was a delay, and I'm not going to be able to start the field until the summer now.
Till the summers? That's what?
Yeah. I believe that that's what Commissioner Marr also told Catherine, maybe when they had a conversation.
That's correct. Yep.
Is there anything we as a community, I know we've had petitions, we've made some
Yeah.
noise, and I think that, I mean, we need it. And so what can we do?
I understand. I mean, I think I don't know if the delays are at the OMB or the comptroller. I don't know where the delay is. And so that's what Councilman Ressler's office was asking. I mean, you could get in touch with Councilmember Ressler's office, but he is already working on it with his staff. So I'll talk to Marty. I'll see if there's something else we can do. I don't know. I apologize. I know that this is frustrating. I work in that building. And I know that we want to get this turf field done for
Frustrating too, because at one point we were told the money was there, and so we didn't need to do anything.
the money's there. It's not a matter of there not being money. But it does keep getting delayed. I think Trina froze. Or no, she's there.
No, I'm just frozen in
Okay.
disbelief.
Sorry.
You're very still.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about the park?
Steve, if you want to segue right into 40 Quay.
Yeah, I just also want to just quickly talk about the programming that
Oh, great.
that we have going on in the park. Oops, they start at the beginning. And what's currently going on right now is we've offered art classes in the past, and right now, we before the pandemic we had them in the headquarters building, but that's for obvious reasons not available right now. So we're doing them online via Zoom, and we primarily worked with Monica Schroeder, who's a scientific illustrator, but she's locally based. She's an avid boater, and just active in the community. And so we've had a series of these online classes where she gives a brief talk about science or the biology of the inlet, and most recently is about plankton. And then on the right, she actually gets into painting instruction or drawing instruction using pastels or oils, etc. And so we're having a cut paper pastel class that's coming up on February 26th. So if you go to bushwickinletpark.org events/events, you can sign up for that. And then we have, in terms of citizen science, we're partnering with the Billion Oyster Project. And in Bushwick Inlet, there are some research oyster cages. They're looking at, the Billion Oyster Project is trying to restore oysters throughout the entire harbor. In pre-industrial times, this area was thriving with oysters. And then through pollution and industrialization, They were destroyed mostly, and because they're amazing bioremediators. They can filter up to 50 gallons of water a day. And the inlet, it's a semi-calm body of water off from the East River, seems to be a prime location to test things out. So periodically through the year, we'll send some canoes to these living docks that are created in the inlet, pull out the cages, and we'll take a look and measure and see and quantify the growth of the oysters. And what's fascinating is just the life that's teeming around them, just in terms of other organisms. So yeah, I'll talk more about how you connect to what's going on. And then we're avid gardeners in the park. We have volunteer gardening. Starting in May, we'll have weeding Wednesdays on Wednesday evenings. We go in and we mulch and we weed and we plant. And so we've got this steady crew going that. It's headed up by our co-chair, Catherine Thompson, who's also the kind of stewardship chair as well. And you can see on the left, those purple flowers, those are fall asters that were planted a few years ago. And it's just the end of the growing season. It's just something to really look forward to. And then we also have what are more formal gardening outings called It's My Park Days through Partnership for Parks. We'll bring in larger groups of people, sometimes with high schools. Both groups in both of these photos were from high schools. The one on the left was during, about during the heart of the pandemic. The one on the right was before that. And, a lot of mulching and weeding, and these guys helped replace and repair a fence on the right. So it just feels good to connect with the park. And this is some of the results of the planting we've done right past the soccer field. These roses started out as tiny little bushes, and just just kind of lightens up the park when you go by there. And on the right are purple coneflowers posing behind the sunset. It's great, great for pollinators, for sustaining life in the park. And then more citizen science. We're working with the Coastal Classroom in the City of Lauderdale through Waterfront Alliance, where we'll have seining in the East River to bring out samples of marine life, fish, crabs, and just other seaweed and kelp and things. And the kids just love it. And recently they have an after-school program going on with PS 84 that we're helping support, just dealing with with various aspects of the waterfront, with marine life and plantings and so forth. And we're about to start up another semester here soon. And then we're taking advantage of this little gem of an esplanade down by the waterfront. We have a summer music series, and we partnered with the Jazz Foundation of America. They help support veteran musicians with housing and medical health care, and help get them gigs. And then also with El Cadre, a program under El Puente to bring Latin ensembles to the park. And so we just put out a few French folding chairs, and the sunsets are just amazing, and it's just a really, really cool vibe. So we're going to start that up again this year as well, I think in July, but it's still in the works. And then we're keeping this is when 50 Kent prior to construction was a pop-up park. And this is some examples of some of the program we had there. We had this funky little circus called Circus Amok. And then we had movies there through the Parks Department. That was Bohemian Rhapsody, Full House on that one. We had Mamma Mia 2. That wasn't quite as crowded. I don't know why. But we're hoping to bring some of that programming back once the park is open. And that's it. And so please go to our website, bushwickinthepark.org, to find out what's going on, and our social media icons there for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's our handle there, and that's our email. I handle the communications. So, but the website, there's tabs for volunteering, or just just general information. So yeah, so that's that. So come have fun in the park, or come work in the park, whatever you're feeling like. So yeah, now I'm going to provide one more update. Oops. related to, as you probably saw on the, or maybe on our parcel map, the very north edge next to Motiva, there's something labeled 40 Quay. And that is a new challenge that has emerged to the park. It's also referred as, it's an MTA wash truck facility depot where they house about 100 trucks. And then there's also a supply station there as well. And so we'll get into that. Okay. And just, you know, kind of laying the land a little bit for what the situation is. This again is the Bayside parcel in the foreground, and then the inlet, and then across the inlet is the MTA facility. Here's a screenshot of the map. So you can see in the upper portion of the map, there's 40 Quay, Motiva beneath it, and the Monitor Museum property to the west of it. Adjacent to the 27-acre in progress Bushwick Inlet Park. But just, super brief history. The 27-acre Bushwick Inlet Park was promised to the community in the 2005 rezoning. There was an issue with that city storage property that it was going to be sold after a big fire. But the community, through FDIC, our elected officials, we prevailed, and fortunately, Mayor de Blasio made the deal and acquired that property. So we had a contiguous 27 acres to work with. And then more recently, as I mentioned, through more advocacy, led especially by new Assembly member Emily Gallagher and new Council member Lincoln Ressler, Senator Chuck Schumer, Carol Maloney, our Congresswoman, and Steve Levin, he was still, punching away to help us. The mayor came through with 75 million towards demo and beyond for city storage. So that was, and on the left, there was a big rally that we held in last May to push for those efforts. Because we still have 2/3 of the park to build out. I don't know if they really emphasized that before, between city storage and Bayside. And yeah, so, but with that, we have this new challenge, 40 Quay. May of 2019, the MTA, they were facing huge deficits, budget deficits between ridership falling off and the ride shares and quality service had dipped. So they felt they needed to, sell underutilized properties, within New York City. And so they put out an RFP for bids for developer to come in, essentially purchase a site or long-term lease to build upzone the property and build, a high density tower, and to create revenue in the spot to the MTA. It's noted, as you saw, located on the north shore of Bushwick Inlet. It's about 2 acres, 80,000 square feet. It was purchased by the MTA in 1998. Before that, it was steel fabrication plant used as a warehouse. This is originally Native American land, part of the Lenape peoples. And it was zoned in 2005 from heavy industrial to low to medium sized residential R6 with a commercial overlay. But this is, basically what's being proposed. While, folks who live here, you just see the massive development going on. North of that is the Collier Place Ford Tower complex. I'll show you some photos as we go on, but obviously south of that, the North Side Piers, the Edge, the Level, the Spitzer family, 416 Kent, certified lumber, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, and yeah, here we go. This is, the open space ratio per the environmental impact statement from the 2005 rezoning. It's 26 square feet per person of open space, really awful. And the city average is around 150. The recommendation is well beyond that. And so if you look at the upper left photo, that's Collier Place. It would go on right behind the MTA facility, about 1,000 apartments. To the right.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing. Someone's coughing. Can they, whoever's.
Yeah, Stephen Lewis, can you please mute? You have 2 connections. Can you mute them, please? Thank you. On the right is, the north, near North Fifth Street, the towers there. River Ring, which was just approved, another 1,000 apartments, those two towers. And then Domino, fully built out. That's another like 2,300 apartments. Lower left, that's Greenpoint Landing and Greenpoint, 11, counted 11 towers. The sixth one's being built right now. The seventh, they're going to remediate the property. More towers, India Street by the ferry. One Huron paused, it's moving again on the lower right. And then these commercial buildings, 25 Kent is opening. Heard they got their major tenant there, at least like 1,500 employees. And then the new Acme Fish facility have an expanded factory, and then a 9-story office building on top of it. So we need all the open space that we can get. And that's why the reason we need all of Bushwick Park built out. But it's troubling about what is potentially proposed here at 40 Quay. Here are the numbers that back up what's going on in the district. City planning report after the census came through showed from 2010 to 2020, we were number one. Greenpoint Williamsburg had the most new housing units in our district, 21,000. And there's been thousands built, at least hundreds upon hundreds, if not thousands built since then or in progress. And that translates into tens of thousands of new people in the district. The inlet, Bushwick Inlet itself is just this beautiful, unique, natural embayment and ecosystem teeming with various species of waterfowl, like these mergansers and buffleheads. And we have the oyster project being, in the process of restoring oysters there, and flora and fauna, native plants that are happy sustaining wildlife, and having a massive structure there with more wastewater outflows, just having a negative impact is really troubling. As you can see, the wash facility at 40 Quay is it's about 50 feet from the inlet. Really, really, really close. It's also in a major flood zone. As you can see, this is from a recent, I believe this is a 100-year flood map. It's right in the center, and there's just a recent report I was going to include it. But, by 2050, we call nuisance flooding is just going to be normal flooding on a regular basis. So the idea of, putting people and large structures in the middle of that is just kind of mind-boggling. Alternatives would be on the left. This is Hunters Point South, masterpiece of a park, that masterpiece with a tidal marsh. This is living breakwaters where they're tempering wave action off of Staten Island with natural infrastructure, green infrastructure. And they were proposing for Manhattan on the Lower East Side in the financial district. These just seem like really more sustainable, viable alternatives. And just kind of seeing what the footprint would look like. This is looking south, and you can see where the footprint of this proposed tower would be. And you can see Greenpoint it's already blocked off, and it would just be really almost just dammed off from Bushwick Inlet from West Street. Unlike, Williamsburg, which has this fluid access to the park. And just below that in the foreground is where the 4 massive buildings of Collier Place are going up. What's also in the works is creating a green connecting corridor from McCarran Park to Bushwick Inlet through Banker's Anchor, a plaza that's in the works at Banker and 15th and Nassau. So it would just really be a natural evolution to include West Street and an open corridor into Bushwick Inlet at 40 Quay. And 40 Quay, it's a publicly owned property. It's owned by the MTA and New York City Transit. And so it feels like the best possible benefit would be open space, something for health and well-being. These are photos from Bushwick Inlet. It's finding crabs in the river, and people enjoying in the naturalistic setting, while it's sustaining, sustainable green infrastructure. What we've done so far, our group recognized the threat. Former Assemblyman Joe Linthal and other elected officials we convened, we mobilized with the Trust for Public Land, met with former MTA Chair Patrick Foy, and through Joe's work, they put a pause on the RFP pending a solution from the state. Joe promoted having a grant come out of what was called the Mother Nature Bond Act, which was a $3 billion initiative to support resiliency and sustainability initiatives as a source for funding for acquiring the site. But unfortunately, when the pandemic hit and the budget cratered, the state budget director pulled that from the 2020 ballot. They also penned a letter to Mayor de Blasio to help intervene. And this, the committee board 2 years ago, sent a resolution to the governor saying that you should pause the RFP and consider alternatives. And then Assemblywoman Gallagher took the baton from Assemblyman Lenthal, wrote to Patrick Foy and MTA board. But unfortunately, they responded with, we don't want to pause, we want to follow through on the RFP. And our group testified at a recent MTA board meeting where they considered an RFP proposal. And in the fall, the MTA approved one design from the Gotham organization, and this is a plan, a rendering from their website, which they launched the day after that approval. And it's a monstrosity. As you can see, it's right against the Motiva and the inlet with Callier Place in progress behind it. It's going to propose to have 900 units of apartments, 45 stories, 25% affordable housing per zoning requirements with mixed retail and commercial. They have quote unquote significant public access to open space. That's to be seen. Waterfront promenade, I guess that means the park. They would have to create a new facility for the mobile wash trucks, and they've targeted East Williamsburg for that. And they also, Boxery Park was also promised in 2005 rezoning, but there's half an acre that is occupied by the MTA Emergency Response Unit. They're looking for a new home since they refused to allow it to go into the building next door, which was planned up there on Commercial Street. So they're trying to throw that into the mix to rob Peter to pay Paul, and for a permanent home for the Greenpoint Modern Museum, whose property is next door. Looking at the numbers of the deal, if they upzone the property from, say, an R6 to R8, the monies paid to the MTA from Gotham would be roughly about $62 million. Without the upzone, it would be about 29. And then deducting the amount MTA would pay rental for the new truck facility, the MTA would net about $39 million. As of right, it would only be 7. And the as of right scenario would not include the MTA ERU facility. But it turns out, the federal government through Chuck, with the huge, help of Senator Chuck Schumer, helped almost cure the MTA's budget woes, and to the tune of $6 billion. Governor Hochul plans to put the Bond Act back on the ballot and increase it from $3 billion to $4 billion, and the opportunity to create projects and programs in these 4 categories: restoration, flood reduction, open space, land conservation, climate change mitigation, and water quality improvement and resilient infrastructure. So this is what it looks like today. This is a more recent photo with Callier Place in progress. 2 other buildings are supposed to go up. And this is just a sketch, of what an alternative might look like if it was purely green, And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of mobilizing to push back and offer this alternative. But we wanted to update the community board on, what's going on. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question. Can you guys hear me very well?
Yes.
My name is Annabelle. I am a student reporter for Brooklyn College. I've been kind of following the 40 Quay Street story for a bit. with all the developments that are going on at the moment, um, is there like an even keel? Like, let's say the one building that's there already, that's in development, if if the other buildings around the one that's already being built is built, let's say, because it eventually will happen, hopefully not, but if they're built and there's a flooding issue in that zone, do you believe those buildings will sustain its standing where it's positioned at the edge of 40 Quay?
I'm not an expert in that area per se, but I feel like it's very questionable how sustainable it would be to have a a residence and commercial business that close to the water that we know is going to flood through king tide when there are king tides or just regular high tides, and then storm surges, which they're predicting to be more frequent. That it's just going to get hit really hard. And just feel like, having green infrastructure that can help weather those blows just seems to make more sense.
Absolutely. And just one last question. Is this meeting recorded?
Yes.
Because I most likely will need the link. That's kind of like the last question I have.
You can get that through the community board.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
It'll be available on the website tomorrow morning.
There you go. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Steve, are the Friends of Bushwick Inlet, are they leading the fight for 40 Quaid?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Essentially,
okay.
we're organizing, but we're making lots of collaborators and other organizations that are coming on board. So,
Okay.
and we're not asking any more of the community board right now, but at some point, probably in the near future, we will ask them to consider another potential resolution.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
Definitely, Steve. Yeah. Let's just see how it moves along right now. But I couldn't agree with you more, because we do know the MTA got a lot of cash infusion through COVID relief. So
yeah.
they're not hurting for money right now. So we should be able to work something out with
Yeah, just to mention timing. So the MTA is betting on this developer upzoning the property.
Mhm.
So they're planning to start, ULURP in early 2024, which means they're going to start the pre-certification process, and they claim there'll be community meetings, up until, before that. So, so stay tuned.
Steve, isn't it odd that the new Senate seat goes down Quay Street?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, Steve, thank you. That was great, Steve. Got a good update on that. And we'll at our future meetings, we're gonna ask you for updates. Okay, buddy?
Sounds great. Thank you, Phil.
Okay. I'm gonna move to our next item on our agenda. My friend William, we're gonna talk about pickleball courts in the Karen Park.
Please.
But before you start, I think you should tell everybody what pickleball is. I know. I'm not sure everybody else does, but okay. William, go ahead.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Originally, it was started by five fathers in Portland a few decades ago. It's the fastest growing sport in the country, and basically it's played on indoors and outdoors. Right now, we're playing in the gymnasium in McCarran's Park, just one court. And basically, the boundaries are the size of a badminton court. They can play singles and doubles. Use a paddle, and it's very fast-paced game. So you burn off a lot of calories. But the number one thing is extremely sociable. We have a community within a community there. In fact, one of your committee members, Frank, is one of our players, and we'll be playing against them tomorrow. And it's been wonderful. I recently retired in end of October, so I wanted to do some exercise work. We have some folks who are 89 years old, and then we have some as young as 19. So we're not focusing on gender, but it's basically skill level. and I got a list of 30 players. So right now, fortunately, as of this week, we play every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 11:45 to 1:45. But we have tons of people, and we do our best to train people. This is the first time. So that takes away from people that normally come there to play. And they come from all over Brooklyn, Lower Manhattan, and Queens to play because it's very scarce to have these courts. And we in the parks, Mary, she's still with us?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I just want to say, Mary, you
Hey,
know,
William. Yep.
Butch, Ali, and Matt, who just came back from surgery, they're wonderful. They cultivate. But as we all know, I work for the city. We're all short staffed, so really upon us neighbors to help pitch in, to teach each other, to be good neighbors. And it's been lots of fun, but we do need more courts. And I'm hoping come spring and summer, we can have some set up outdoors so we can do singles and doubles, but also different levels because we have a lot of folks that just see us for the first time and they only play for 2 or 3, and we have some folks that are very experienced. So hopefully you got some emails from some of my neighbors, and it's really wonderful. I have to say, this is the one parks program I really got into 100%, and I cannot help but promote it and talk about the good people at McCarran's Park and also Cooper's Park. You know, we love them too. So again, it's a paddle game on a court.
We got a lot of positive feedback, William, from must be a lot of people who play with you, and they all advocating for more courts. I don't know about more courts immediately. Can we increase the time slot on that one court, William?
I don't think so because they have a wonderful program for toddlers. It's fantastic seeing these little ones
Okay.
gymnastic. And then right after us is basketball.
Oh, okay. All
Now,
right.
this is the thing I have to emphasize. Even during these cold days, we've been getting a minimum of 8 to 10 people. And I've been scheduling this so we don't have all 30 people show up at the same time. You know, and there's going to be, as the weather gets warmer, we're going to have more and more people participating. So I know I just want to put it on the radar for that space asphalt next to the ball fields, the tennis course. Also, Steve had mentioned there might be some possibilities for open space in Bushwick. I just want to emphasize that, and again, these are not to be permanent. It should be temporary because we don't play in the winter outdoors.
Right.
So there could be just the lines drawn on the ground, and then we could move them, because I know softball is played there also, but it doesn't have to be the whole day. So we're very flexible, but I just want to emphasize it's really, really wonderful. One of our players who's up there, 87, and myself, 67, we beat up on a 23-year-old and 24. So today was a very good day on the court. So old school is still strong.
You can use the MPPA during the nicer months. You can get a permit for it pretty easily, I think.
Well, I'd like
if you
to have
wanted
that.
to.
Yeah, but it's let's talk about it. But again, it has to be more than one because there's so many people.
Right, so the multi-purpose player, but we'll talk. Give me a call
Okay.
tomorrow. We'll
Could
talk.
I
lines
will.
be drawn, Mary? Could the lines for pickleball be drawn on that court?
I mean, I have to ask. But I mean, if you're just doing so like chalk or something temporary, it might be doable. But let me double check. But William, call me tomorrow. We can talk
Yeah.
about it. I know
And
there's a
to
lot
tell
of
you-
interest from a lot of
li-
people.
And the
for
three of us have
pickleball.
no promise providing the net. We just need the surface. Chalk will be difficult
Yeah.
because it fades very quickly. And the gym we're using is also for basketball, and the lines and so we're good sports. If it's close, we give it to
Yeah.
you. But chalk,
I've
after you step
seen,
in a couple of times, it'll disappear.
Yeah, I've seen people play pickleball inside McCarran. Commissioner Silver was very big into it. He played there a few times. So
Good. Tell them that we're
Yeah.
keeping it alive and strong.
Mary, would it be helpful for the community board to write a letter?
I don't think it's necessary, to be honest. Let me see if there's an issue with lines. But I'll let you know.
Well, it's just we're not going to meet for another couple of months. And if it's helpful to have the letter just in hand, maybe it's something the committee wants to vote on. What do you
Okay,
think?
I mean, if you want to, that's up to you.
Listen, Trina, let's give Mary a shot, and I'm sure, I have a lot of faith in Mary, so that's okay.
I do too.
I have a lot of faith in her, so I think
And I do 3.
thank you, William. Yeah.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
She just
I-
doesn't, she don't
so
just
Mar-
talk, she does her thing, so, yeah.
So I just want to bring some other issue that Cooper's Park, we were there cleaning up, and we found the 2 playgrounds, Mary, for the little kids.
Yep.
The lashes are broken, so you can't close the gate. So I'm concerned about kids running off and etc.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And glad to report, past 2 weekends, no syringes found in the park. So it's
Good.
Oh,
getting there.
good.
Thank
That's
God.
Good.
Very good. And
But
that's it,
thank you.
buddy.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for the update. Yeah, William, I
Pickleball, man,
got a
pickleball.
lot of, we got a lot of emails that once they heard this was going on, a lot of people were very, I play, we need more time, we, this and that. So we're all on board with you. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
buddy.
let me just tell you, a lot of those folks are nurses, so they've been living a very stressful. So to have this to release the stress and socialize, it's been fantastic. And a last little note on a personal note, I'm 67, I weigh 123 pounds, and my nickname is the Beast.
God bless you. God bless you. How do you do it?
I'm married wisely. I have a great wife that added years of fun in life to me.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you very much, William, for that. We had 2 more items on the agenda that Katie was going to present, but she had emailed me. So Katie, you can hear me, right? You want to hold off a little bit on this? You want get a little more info on it?
Yeah. So, I mean, these faces are all familiar, right? So I think a lot of you have known, or maybe even went to, there were a couple of conversations. We had our bi-monthly meetup at the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance, where some issues were discussed. Mary had mentioned the McCarran asphalt lot that, William's talking about pickleball. And so I thought that it was an issue to bring tonight, but that's for another time.
Okay.
And the other was I wanted to create some space for the issues that have been discussed around the dog run community. There's been a lot of press about it. But we've been in touch with the Parks Department, who's been in touch with the dog runs, who is doing some work in those areas. So I don't think that I had nothing to present on that.
No problem. And on that note, maybe Mary, you just want to give us a quick update. I know they did a lot of work on the dog run at McCarran Park. There was a lot of issues there.
Yeah, so we have, we trenched in the dog run, added some gravel. We removed all of the old mulch that was there. And then, added new mulch on top of on top of the gravel that we put in. We added rat resistant trash cans around the site. And our exterminator's been there multiple times to take a look at what the issues are. We found that a lot of the rats were actually outside of the dog run where the mulch had piled up. When mulch piles up, it gets warm inside. It's like it starts to like disintegrate. It's sort of like compost. And so, it turns out that they were in a lot of the areas on the surrounding the dog run. I met with the dog run group actually the other day, and our exterminator was on site again, just checking out what was going on. We removed some of the old wooden furniture that was there and sort of frozen into the ground. It was broken. There were some rat holes underneath one of them that they found. But yeah, so for the most part, I think we've done a lot of work with them. We put a job box in and outfitted it with some tools, and we'll work with them. We'll work with North Brooklyn Parks Alliance and them in the future to see what we can do to just keep up the work that's been done.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say something. I don't want to get into a whole issue with the rats, but that is a big issue in this neighborhood. I wish more people would stop leaving out food garbage for them, because that's what attracts them. No matter where you go, no matter where there's dirt, they're burrowed in. And it's really, really bad. I know that the city sends their exterminators around, but you fight a losing battle, and people have to stop. It's more the people who would.
And I agree. And I think what's helpful is, if there's a garbage can that's full, please just take your trash with you. They don't leave it out. We also find them a lot near, subways. So where their subway runs, it's very warm, and so they tend to burrow in like on top of where subways are. So yeah, so it's don't, it's keeping the harborage out, and then also not giving them a food source.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
All right. Does anybody want to bring up anything right now? Anybody have a
Phil, I just have an announcement.
Sure, Steve.
Yeah, I just want to let people know that Friends of Transmitter Park has a new chairperson. Her name is Elisa Iberti,
Uh-huh.
a long-term resident of Greenpoint on Oak Street. She's involved with the Solid Waste Advisory Board, with Organics Pickup, and with Neighborhood Block Association issues. So she's really, really great person, really talented. So, and I'm going to remain on the steering committee of that group, but she's taken over the reins there. So maybe she'll pop in and say hi at some point.
Hi, I just
I had
want
the opportunity I'm just to piggyback on what Steve said. I had the opportunity to meet with her the other day, and she was really, really great, very engaged, and already had a long list of things to collaborate with Parks on. So very impressive first meeting.
Okay, excellent. Kevin, did you have go ahead, Kevin. Go ahead.
Just a bunch of buttons. I'm good. Yeah, I just wanted to briefly, and not to get too deep into it, but I do want to ask a question. There's been a conversation about like the rats and the issues in the parks with the rats. And I know that Mary, one part of the solution is, asking folks to better carry out their trash and not to overpile trash cans. But I know that that's been a consistent ask, that with the amount of folks that are using these parks, doesn't always happen, right? Putting that on the individual. I know that like the metal trash cans is a really great solution. If there's been any further exploration for containerization around the Parks Department, so like, these pilot programs that are happening all over the city with, trash and dumpsters at the curb, like what has been deployed at Cooper Park, much more secure containers, and increasing of staffing doing this type of work around the parks, just because, I don't know that ultimately this issue is going to be solved by basically saying don't put your pizza box in the garbage, and will be solved by much more secure and more investment in containerization of trash by the Parks Department, and staffing accordingly. I'm just a little bit, I think that there's been a lot of issues around the dog park that has led to a lot of response. But I really think that's got to be an institutional priority, and the containerization of trash has got to really be at the front end of it. So I just want to know if there's any further. I know it had been brought up. I had brought it up during the Parks Alliance meetup. If there's been any further update on it, if there's been any further consideration of better or further containerization in McCarran Park beyond these individual metal trash cans around the perimeter of the park, with staffing accordingly.
So we've, we do have some containers in McCarran already. We find that there's a lot of outside dumping in those containers that fill them up pretty quickly. And so, we've looked into it. We have it in some areas. We have it in Cooper. We had it in Transmitter, and I think that was removed because we had a lot of vandalization there. In terms of increased staffing, we're doing what we can with the staffing that we do have. If there is increased staffing for parks, we for sure will be able to put them out in our parks, deploy them into those areas that we really need them to clean up trash and clean up the park and get the trash removed as quickly as possible.
For something like dumping, and I know that you had mentioned that last time, that that there was like folks using this space in ways they shouldn't have been using this space. Is that something that can be solved with like a park staff member having a key to the dumpster? I mean, I know that's a pretty common, that the dumpster is padlocked. It is not for general use, it's for parks use. And the person that is bringing the trash over there is just unlocking the container to put the trash in.
Yeah, so we've done that before. We actually did it at McCarran.
Right.
But we found that they just leave it next to the container.
Okay.
It hasn't really
Yeah.
helped. You know, we'll explore other options too. You know, what
Yeah.
we can do, we try not to, you know, I think we've talked about this in McCarran too. We had, you know, we moved trash collection to the perimeter of the park, so that we don't have our garbage trucks driving in the park. We can keep them out. I think we're far above where we were several years ago in McCarran Park when it comes to trash collection. And we'll continue to improve. I think if we can get more of these metal trash cans out, we'll do that as much as we can. Everything has a cost, and we will do it as soon, you know, as soon as we can, as soon as it's affordable to get them out, to deploy them.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Since that meetup and just with the dog run things, one thing that I came across, and I had mentioned this to Mary, is a city program called Clean Curbs. It was a project that was launched last year. It's not a parks project, but it's a collaboration between DSN, the Department of Sanitation, and DOT, where an entity can apply essentially for DOT property to do carting. And so it was something that the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance had offered to apply for. In this case, that I think Mary had said she would look into that pilot, although I don't know if anybody knows or if anyone on this community board has experience with this Clean Curbs program. I couldn't find much examples of it since it's been launched, but it seemed like it could be a potential opportunity where you know, we would offer to be the entity to apply and actually cart out the trash, or someone else if they're willing to apply.
It's always good to look at other options. Good idea. Okay.
Is that something that is possible though, Mary? I mean, I think just because, you know, one of the issues here obviously is like, I think, you know, there's a staffing issue on the parks end of things, which is like understandable. A limited number of folks can pick up, you know, a particular amount of trash. But I also think that like the way that trash is being stored, where it is being stored, and like, you know, who is a cooperative entity that is working to make the situation better, or, you know, wanting to help with that. I mean, I think that makes sense to me, that should be something that should go forward. And I think that, like, you know, we had the death of a number of dogs in this community that folks are very rightfully so upset about. They're, you know, the lifelong companions. You know, and I don't know that I don't know that just, you know, the metal trash cans, you know, we're asking folks to better dispose of their trash is going to be enough, or more metal trash cans are going to be enough. I think it's a question of where that trash is being stored, how it's being stored. And I think that, like, at the curb, if that's a capacity issue for the Parks Department in terms of staffing, then we should be bringing in partners to do more. You know, and I don't know if that means a letter from, you know, this issue with trash in parks has been a thing, you know, as long as I've been involved in this, and I know that it was a huge issue during the pandemic, and it's remained a huge issue. So I don't know if that's a request from the board for, you know, for containerization measures to be taken by the Parks Department to better store and manage trash. But I think that it's a problem across the board. So I would make that ask, you know, Phil, you know, I just, because it's like, with these issues around flooding and standing water, where McCarran sits, right, you know, as part of the Bushwick Inlet watershed, these issues are going to just be getting worse and worse. You know, and we do risk, you know, repeats of these types of problems. And this is something we can't do. I don't know what we can do about I mean, I don't know. In terms of the flooding, we're a little more limited, but in terms of the trash, there's stuff that we can ask for, and we should ask for.
All right. It's something to look into. Definitely to look into. Katie, go ahead. Just Katie, talk, because then we get a few people who have other questions too. So, guys, just you're talking on this topic.
No, I have new business.
All right. So let me just, Laura, go ahead. You've been waiting a while. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just want to bring to your attention what's been happening at Barge Park. The park the bathrooms have been closed a lot. particularly on the weekend. I never see it closed on the weekdays when when the construction workers are about. So I'm a little concerned about that because I've seen it happen once before where not I don't know who the current parks attendant is, but one time before with the previous park attendant, there was some kind of deal that was being made between her and the construction workers, to open up earlier and that kind of thing. I want to make sure that kind of stuff isn't going on again. That's one. Mary, do we have a steady parks person for the park?
If he's on, I'll have to ask him, but Laura, I don't know. I mean, I haven't heard anything at all about a parks worker making a deal with a construction worker or the construction workers to keep the bathroom open. That is not how we operate, and that's not what happens at the park.
That's because it was caught.
Okay, well, I wish you had told me then because I wish I had known. That is not how we operate. The bathrooms, if it's not a fixed post person, which means that, there's somebody who is assigned to that park, then we have a schedule. So all the bathrooms are locked, right? In all of our parks at the end of the day. We have a lockup person and we have an open person. There is a person who is assigned every day to go from bathroom to bathroom to bathroom at parks and open up all of the bathrooms. And then there is a person who's assigned at the end of the day to go from bathroom to bathroom to bathroom to close them at the end of the day. They close them, they go inside, they make sure no one's in there, they check to make sure things are in working order, and they shut the door. If no one is assigned there, if someone's assigned there, then they'll take care of it. Right now, I think Greenpoint is on a mobile route because we don't have anyone that we can assign there. So there is nobody who is working out of that park house right now.
So are they able to come just anytime, or are they supposed to be opening up in the morning?
They open up in the morning, and the morning that on Saturday when the bathroom was closed, we had somebody there at 6:57. They mark it down on their sheet. They have a sheet, they write down when the bathroom's opened. And it was 6:57 a.m. that they wrote down that they opened this bathroom. And so we looked into why the bathroom was locked and we just don't know. But our supervisor is keeping an eye on it to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So please call me. If you don't have my phone number, I will give it to you. But please call me if the bathroom is closed again, because it was abnormal. I don't know why the bathroom was closed, but we had it open and then they went back at the end of the day to close it again. And so I'm really not sure what happened on this day.
This is actually I would say the third time we caught it locked. The first couple of times at the beginning of the year, we thought that was just maybe, because of the pandemic or whatever, but this time around, it's starting to, when I start noticing it, because I'm not there 24/7 like the kids, like some of the kids and families. So if I'm noticing it, it must be happening more often.
So if you could just do what you did the last time, which is call 311, make a complaint, you can forward it to me. I looked into it. Sometimes our bathrooms are closed if there's a repair job, if the bathroom isn't working. If something happens, then they'll be closed, but that wasn't happening here. And I could just, if there is a repair that we're waiting to make, we will shut the bathroom for that. But I will let you know if that happens. The last closure that we know of is during snow events. If we just, if everyone's deployed to DSNY, which is what happens, park staff help out sanitation. We get into the plows with them. We are out on the streets plowing alongside DSNY. If we don't have anyone to open up the bathrooms, then sometimes that happens during snow events. But please just call me if it happens again. And we are looking into why it was closed this past weekend. But we do have a record of when it was open. So, and if you hear anything about someone making a deal with the construction workers, please let me know as well, because they're, they're not going in to clean the bathrooms. If they were, then maybe that would be a different story. But please just,
Mary, if
just
they're
let me know.
closed, do they put a sign out if something has to be fixed? Could there be a sign saying
Sure.
you're doing
Yeah.
that?
Should be locked from the inside.
I actually wondered that myself. We were trying to figure out why the bathroom was closed. So we had the supervisor check, and she said, no, you can't lock it from the inside. That was one of the thoughts we had first, Steve, was maybe that's what's going on.
Good, Laura?
Well, let me know what you find out.
Yeah, it might be nothing, but we'll keep looking at it. And if it's closed again, please just let me know. I'll shoot you my email. I'm sorry, my phone number and an email, so you have it.
Okay.
Saved.
Thank you.
No, okay, wait, some people have been waiting. So Jennifer, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I'm live here near Cooper Park, and I'm the new special events coordinator for the Greenpoint Williamsburg Youth Soccer League. I met some of you may have heard of it. So because of COVID, we're having a hard time finding an indoor space in one of the parks buildings to host some like training events for the coaches and stuff. So I just was wondering, so I've tried to get into BIP and I tried to get into McCarran, but for various reasons, they're not available right now, or might not be available depending on COVID regulations. They might open up, hopefully. But I was just wondering if anyone knows of another park or indoor space building that we could utilize for some of these events in March. Because we're an all volunteer league, so we're not one of the private leagues where we don't have tons of money.
I wonder if the Polish Slavic Center.
Okay, thank you. Not that much. In the past we've used the Bushwick Inlet Park space, and that's worked perfectly. But I think there's still some COVID regulations in place. And then, when I called McCarran, they said that they're starting construction, so they're not able to schedule any events. But it sounds like they're still utilizing indoor space. So I don't know.
Automotive.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if there's such an echo. I don't know if space, but maybe 20%. Like
20
they had a vacant space across from soccer field.
20 Kent.
Sorry, 25 Kent.
I don't know what that is, but I'll look it up. Yeah, so I just don't know. There aren't any other parks built. Is it just McCarran and BIP that have the indoor spaces, like recreation centers? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. Carolyn?
Hello, thank you very much. I just wanted to update the committee regarding the asphalt lot, which I know has been mentioned already a couple of times. So I'm a neighbor living near McCarran, and we've launched a community survey to ask residents about what is the future uses that they would like to see in the park. I know there's been a lot of conversation, so we decided to launch a survey to be able to have some data to react to as it relates to what the community wants for it. So when we're ready to share results, we feel we have enough data points. We will share the results with the Parks Waterfront Committee.
Oh, excellent. Okay. How long, when do you think that'll be? Maybe by our next meeting in May?
Yes, definitely.
Why don't we do that? Before I sign off, I'll give you all the dates, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, go ahead. Oh, Kevin left the room for a minute. Go ahead, Katie, you want to talk again? You want to say something again?
Yeah, I wanted to not respond to, but Laura's bringing up Greenpoint Playground made me want to just update this committee on a conversation we had in the Environmental Protection Committee related to that area of Greenpoint, where Greenpoint Landing had presented a remediation plan to the lot that is directly across the street from the playground. And so, you know, as one does, they sort of presented their efforts to mitigate any sort of external harm by containing any sort of toxins in either the air or the ground. But that said, they did describe potential risk, and they also described a huge amount of trucking. They said even, you know, between potentially 30 to 50 trucks a day that would be going by Greenpoint Playground. So I just wanted to put that out there as something to be aware of and keep our eyes on. The committee did request a letter asking for air monitoring because it is a small triangle where children play that is surrounded by streets. And given the increase in truck traffic, you know, the committee had concerns about the air quality. So different committee, but, you know, related to parks, I just want to make sure the Parks Committee was aware of. So I would read those minutes when you all have a chance. And in the new business, I just wanted to quickly say that some of you might know this from our messaging, but the Under the K Bridge Park has been closed for the last few weeks as state DOT is doing bridge maintenance. They've been clearing out the pipes above. So we hope to open it in the near future once they get their equipment off site. And I hope at the next meeting to present our plans, our programmatic plans there and throughout the rest of the district.
Excellent, excellent. Kevin, did you want to get the last word in?
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, one thing regarding, I guess, old business stuff was just that I wanted to thank this committee. We got word that the Marsha P. Johnson Park hours have been increased.
Yes, I was going to bring that up, but go ahead. You got you might as well run with it. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody here so much. You know, you know, there's so many amazing things that happened out of the Stop the Plastic Park movement, and one of them is for Marsha P. Johnson Park. An increase of 3 hours a day to becoming, you know, and that's 21 hours a week. And an additional, when we do the math, 35.5 full days more of park access per year from Marsha P. Johnson. So hopefully just the beginning of this conversation about further parks access along the waterfront. You know, and, you know, soon enough more conversation about Bushwick Inlet Park and, you know, a lot of these spaces to say, you know, really they should be, you know, paired with places like McGolrick and McCarran and, you know, in terms of their accessibility. So, but I want to thank the committee for that. I think that letter, that support from you all and from the elected offices and from the advocate support really went a long way and made it happen. So
thank you, Kevin. That was your.
It happened really fast. We just did that. We said
it was surprisingly fast. I did want to loop back briefly, you know, because I don't know if there is the ability to write a letter or something here on this that is officially on the books. You know, just you know, there's friends of mine that have been involved in this dog run stuff that have really been devastated, and you know, I do think that a fuller and more complete program around containerization of trash is really important. And especially because this committee doesn't meet again until May, I do want to say that I think that a letter should be drafted asking for better sanitation and, you know, really jumping up that program around containerization in McCarran. I do want to make that ask just because I think that I understand the staffing issues on the parks end of things, but, you know, we know that there are policy ways to solve this problem. So I know we jumped right over to Laura's concern, which I'm also concerned about, obviously, with the bathrooms access, but you want to make that ask before we close. And if there can be a topic, you know, just to discuss whether we want to write a letter, I don't want to leave it go till May, because like I said, you know, once we get into the summer, you know, we get the rains, more standing water. more issues to trash and that standing water. And, I just, I think that we should do it now.
I get. Trina, could you put something together in the next 2 seconds? Where's my friend? There she is.
Let's see. Maybe Kevin, you can help me with some language. I think we should just ask the Parks Department to look into the garbage in a general way and report back to the community board on the issue of containerization in McCarran Park, given what happened with at the dog run.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we could send a letter to Commissioner Marr. Do we want to do that, or what do you think?
Just focus on McCarran, or I know there was in McGolrick, there have been.
Well, then we could make a letter, a general, more general terms that we just think, sanitation is a major issue.
And maybe asking them to, give answers to further steps that they might want to take on solutions to that problem in parks across the district, which I think that, when we look at it, that one of those answers is containerization. And I would like to hear a more formal answer on that, and Mary, I get that like metal trash cans are a part of that, but in my mind, they're kind of the lower tier of, they're the most immediate, but where are those being emptied to and how is that being secured? I think that as a formal ask is really, really important to be coming from this board. Otherwise, we're going to be right back where we were.
Trina, again, what do you think? What do you think, Trina? Do you want to put
asking the Parks Department to come back to the community board with sort of a report on what on the issues of trash in the parks and what they see as possible solutions that can be enacted sooner than later. I mean, before the summer gets going, before the parks get very active.
Yeah,
right. For the summer,
they can be more proactive. Given, and we can cite what happened with the dog run.
Could I get someone to make a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to that effect, Steve Chesler.
Second, someone second. Okay.
Can I second it?
Yeah. Okay, Trina. All members in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that will do that, Kevin. We'll send that along. Okay.
Thank you.
And Mary, it can be what we're asking for is a report, just for the Parks Department to come back and tell us what's being done and what could potentially be done.
Yeah.
Phil, I had one more, speaking of Marsha P. Johnson, I had one more little thing, if it's okay to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just, I was on the art advisory committee for that park related to creating a memorial and a gateway to commemorate Marsha P. Johnson. And so to say, I worked hard to get language in the RFPs that the artists be aware of the park, the existing topography, the historical fabric, and the green infrastructure when they consider their art. And so that got in there. And so it's moved to a new phase into the actual release of the RFP and the consideration of proposals.
Mm-hmm.
And so they create a new evaluation team, which is sort of like a subcommittee. And so they shrunk the roster. So now Sante Miselli was selected by the board chair to rep the community. So that's where that's at. But I feel good that something really cool and unique is going to be created for the park in that regard, which will be installed in a year. And it's going to take a year. They hope to have an artist, I think, by June. And then they'll have a year to, they'll visit the park and et cetera, et cetera. And then they'll have a year to 2 artists to create the 2 different pieces. So
Have they held the meeting yet, Steve?
pardon?
Has that committee held the meeting yet?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm out of it now, so I don't know.
Well, I'll talk to Sante. I'll see what's going on. Okay.
Great.
I'll let something. Okay. Well, thanks everybody. I just want to tell you one thing. We had made the next meeting for May 19th, but that happens to be a Jewish holiday. So it's going to be the next Thursday, May 26th. Will be our next scheduled meeting. I always say this: if something comes up between now and then, we will schedule a meeting. If they need a vote for something, or something very important comes up,
Yep.
I'll we'll schedule the meeting in between the time zone. Okay, guys?
Phil, can I just jump in real quick, Phil? I'm sorry. Frank Carbone here.
Hi, Frank, go ahead.
Sorry I'm late, and I know I don't usually attend. I just finished a game, so we won, so that was good. But a little bit late. Yeah, no, I just wanted to speak on two items really quick, both related to the pickleball court issue that has come up. Speaking, obviously, I'm sure William Vega brought that up already. A lot of correspondence come in from some very active and passionate pickleball players. I know that's not a very common sport yet, but there is a definite need for some outdoor courts, and I know you all are probably aware of this already, to service this population, which not only consists of young people, but also all age ranges, including seniors. So it's quite an active and vibrant and passionate group, and I just want to, voice my support, for that and on behalf of them, in the hopes, because there definitely is a need to put up some courts. I know there are some in Brooklyn Bridge Park that have gone up or actually are under construction now and should be online starting in May. But I'm hoping that something can be done in the Greenpoint Williamsburg area.
We talked about it, and it's definitely in on our radar right now, Frank.
And the second question I have related to pickleball, because a lot of us are members of the McCarran Park Play Center, and there are some rumors that that's going to be, or part of the facility at least, is going to be going under renovation. Is anyone aware of that?
Mary, any update on that?
Yeah, I actually think I put it in my Parks Department update.
Oh, my
to
apologies.
the community board. So from February, but yeah, so mid-March
Here it is, yes, okay.
potentially is when it's going to start. The facility will remain open the entire time, and so the gym.
Can I just ask, because people are saying that the two areas, one that houses the gym in particular, is that going to be renovated?
So this project focuses on the roof and the masonry. It's not a renovation to the facility itself. So the roof will be redone. There's leaks throughout the facility that need to be fixed. The pointing of the building was not done very well, and it needs to be redone completely. The project will take about 2.5 years, and that's so that the pool can remain open in the summer. So the McCarran Park pool will not be closed. It will remain open. You'll see some staging in the area. There'll be some in the front of McCarran Rec Center, or Play Center, I should say, in the back of the Play Center. The Bayard Street entrance to the skateboard park will be closed, but the building will remain open.
Right.
There might be some closures throughout the building during construction as things, as certain areas are worked on. For example, some of the skylights need to be replaced. And so when there's work happening straight above, that room cannot be open while there's work that's going on, like when a skylight's being removed. But for the most part, the Play Center will remain open, so that it can be used.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So please, take a look at my update from the 8th, I think it was. It gives you some information.
Great. Much appreciated.
Yep.
Okay, Frank.
You got it, Phil. Thank
Thank
you.
you for joining the meeting. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, I got in on the tail end.
Okay, everybody. All right. So thank you very much.
Bill, I think there are some more questions. I'm sorry.
Tish raised her hand.
Jennifer, yeah.
Teresa's got a question.
Well, I didn't see her up her hand. Oh, please. Is that Tish?
She's.
I don't see her.
I think Laura has a question in the meantime.
All right, go ahead.
I do.
Go ahead, Laura.
It's more of a comment about the situation with the rats and the garbage. I know that there's been a lot of flooding around McCarran Park too. If you haven't done so already, it might be a good idea just to check when the catch basins in that area had some maintenance, because that could be contributing to the problem too.
Okay. All right.
So my follow-up question about the indoor space, when I called McCarran Park, I think it was Laura Nunez, she said that we couldn't meet there because they were doing, because the interior spaces would be closed, but it sounds like they'll be open. Mary, do you know
I don't know. I mean, it could potentially be that. Oh, there's it could potentially be that the work will be done hours and not during the day, affecting nighttime. I mean, I know you guys wanted to use the center at night.
Yeah, partially.
So I'm not sure. You have to talk to her.
Wait.
This is
Okay.
my understanding.
Yeah,
If I'm wrong, then I need to update the community board.
What's that?
That was my understanding. If I'm wrong, I'll have to update the community board again. So I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
Phil, can you mute? It's your.
I can't. Okay, I think. Tish, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to talk.
Hold on, Tish, go ahead, Tish.
At the last women's issue meeting, Jan Peterson and myself and others, there were concerns about McGoldrick Park, about the lighting wasn't sufficient.
And safety.
And unsafe. So I wanted to say that we should be concerned about issues like that coming from women. And also, Laura Hoffman spoke about the Barge Park. It was wonderful seeing her on the screen because she's been around for years and she's still active. So that's another concern at the Barge Park, that there were issues there. And I'm sure there may be other issues. So does the planning board have a listing of actual friends of these various parks? Because at some point, I think we should honor some of these groups that have been involved for years with the parks. And that's what I wanted to recommend. Getting a list of the friends of the parks. I don't know if we have that, Bill, but the planning board may have a listing. And I think we should honor some of the volunteers that have been around for years. And I know Laura Hoffman, she's still there, actively involved, talking about the Barge Park. So that's my concerns.
It's always a good idea, Tish. Without them, there are eyes and ears out there.
I will say we honored Laura at our gala last year for the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance. And we usually do honor friends groups or volunteers or activists or advocates each year. And if you go to our website, we have a lot of information about friends groups and you should be, I'll look into that if there's actually a list. There's sort of a lot of logos and you can click into them and find out which parks have which groups. So that's
a list
nbkparks.org.
We have a list at the Parks Department that we can share too. I mean,
thank you, Mary.
Our Partnerships for Parks team has everybody from McGolrick, Bushwick Inlet, Transmitter, Cooper, Mace.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that. That would be good.
Hey, Mary, what about the lighting in McGoldrick? Has there been a change in the lighting, or is there a way to?
Not that I know of, but DOT maintains the lights in parks. So I've been in touch with DOT. I know Vinny's been in touch with DOT. And so I just got back in touch with them last week. And I haven't heard back about it being fixed yet. But if there is a light out in a park, please let us know if we haven't seen it or we don't know about it already. You can also yourself call 311 or go online and file a 311 service request for a light out in a park. And that's a fast way to get it to DOT.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Phil.
Stay safe, everyone. We'll see you at the board meeting.
Thanks, Phil. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.